Welcome back to the channel. Gonna remind you, drop a free like on this video, engage with this content, share it with your friends, leave a comment, because if more people see this video and YouTube promotes it to more people will learn about Bitcoin. So you will magically put more money in your pocket because more people will have gone out and bought more Bitcoin for having dropped a free like. So if you think that I've helped you, please consider dropping a free like on this video. Today's topic is about what happens when you start to date someone who is interested in Bitcoin. And I'll start off, of course, with a small anecdote, a story of a good friend. And this friend I consider her to be extremely wise, extremely beyond just book smart. She is extremely wise as a human and in everything that she does and the way that she lives her life. And a quote that she once said, and she wasn't trying to be deep, it was just, she's just that naturally smart and bright, was some of our friends wanted to show her this interesting TikTok video, a dumb humor, easy, high-level humor, but sort of sophomoric humor, or the type of humor like middle school boys might be interested in, like sort of like that burping type of easy, low-level humor. And she, respectfully, it didn't create a bad moment or anything like that, or no negativity. She just refused to look at the video. She didn't want to really engage with the video. Our friends were just showing this quick, funny, hilarious, small clip, TikTok clip on their phones and passing it around at a party. And she just politely declined. It wasn't a big deal. Everyone moved on. But she told me this. She said, "I don't suffer fools." So when I asked her, like, oh, why didn't you want to just look at that interesting, dumb, quick little, stupid little humor thing? Again, that immature burping type of young adolescent humor, kind of that dumb humor. And she was like, "I don't suffer fools easily." And I really thought about that years later and how, she expressed that she doesn't suffer fools well. And she explained to me that she has a low bandwidth or tolerance for anything that has that dumb flavor or note to it. And the more I started to mature years later, and this channel, of course, is about Bitcoin, and I think about my Bitcoin journey and how it's difficult to laugh at a lot of the same humor that I used to, and it's difficult to find a lot of parallels between some of the low-level hobbies I was into, or some of the shows I might have been into, or different music I was obsessed with, or that low-hanging fruit, that low-level, easy flavor of mediocrity, that sort of McDonald's flavor of things that the world will serve up to you, and the interests and the topics that people talk about. And you notice that you want to go into deeper topics with the people that you have around you. So again, to the topic of this video about exploring like what happens when you date someone who's into Bitcoin, I think that you start to connect with people that are a lot more mature. And that's why you start to go into topics that aren't at that mediocrity flavor, that average refrigerator hum of the Matrix, people trapped in the Matrix and trapped in that mainstream, easy, low-level humor, gag type of humor. And so I noticed that the hobbies that I started to turn my attention to, they started to be things that required a little bit more brain power. And I noticed that things, the way that I would describe it when I look back, is things became less interesting. And take that for however you may. That may be a positive thing in your life or a negative thing in your life. And you may totally disagree with me, but a lot of things became less interesting. So when I looked at different friends who might be vaping, for example, or like we said before, going to that movie, like I don't want to see another superhero movie. I don't want to eat bad food. I don't want to eat the McDonald's. I don't want to eat the junk food or the chocolate candy bar. Things became less interesting that most people were into. I didn't want to drink anymore. Maybe here and there, but I didn't want to drink as a hobby anymore. It became less interesting. It wasn't that I started to super dislike those things. They just became less interesting. It became more interesting to read a really deep research paper on Bitcoin and to talk about those sort of things with my friends or the girls that I was dating. So maybe you'll notice that too, that friends that need substances, drinking or whatever substances they're into, like we said before, the vaping, where it's like the cope. When you're spending your money on vaping packs, it's just to get by to the next moment because you need that substance so badly because you don't have it within yourself to make yourself happy. So you're coping. And so those things, the terminology I use for myself, maybe you can adopt it, is again that those things simply became less interesting. I didn't want a substance to patch my sadness or my demons. I didn't want late night McDonald's to make me feel better. I didn't want to go that easy route. Those things became less interesting. So I noticed that the girls that I date now have that similar interest in high level hobbies, in a little bit of things that require a little bit more brain power. And I'm sure that they would adopt that quote that my really good friend originally taught to me was, I don't suffer fools well. I simply don't suffer fools. And it's not that you, in a polarizing way, start to love or hate anybody at all. You simply become disinterested. You simply withdraw. You don't give a lot of your heat energy, or you don't expend a lot of polarized emotions, love or hate, thinking that these people have to do this, or these people have to listen to what you said about this, or they have to believe this thing or think this way. You're just totally at peace. You just let go. You stop suffering fools. You stop being so invested in low-level things. So I'd love to hear what you think about this topic. Share your thoughts on what I've shared. And again, I could be totally wrong, but I'd love to hear your perspective. Thanks again.